All right. Good evening. We are live, Leanne, if you want to take it away.
Hi, yes. So welcome to our Women in STEM panel. We are excited to have you join us this evening, and we are excited to be able to have this event for you. My name is Leanne Rayburn. I am one of the academic advisors at NCTC. I advise engineering, math, physics, construction, science, technology, and engineering. And then I also work with all of our IT majors. So that's if you're doing networking, cyber, and things like that. And then my partner is Franklin Haskins, and I'll let him introduce himself.
So my name is Franklin, and I am the academic advisor for biology, chemistry, pre-med, pre-dental, pre-farm, and some gaming, and that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah, yesterday. So the reason why I introduced ourselves is because if you are in one of those majors at NCTC, then you will be working with me in Franklin with scheduling your classes and helping you with transfer. And then I know some people who are doing pre-vet may be with our ag advisor, Ashley Fleeks, but you're welcome to ask any of us questions. Now what I'm going to do is let's get on with our event, and I am going to let our panelists introduce themselves. They are all women faculty members that teach our STEM subjects here at NCTC.
So good evening, everyone. Welcome to this panel. I hope you guys enjoy it and get to learn a lot from us so that we can encourage you to continue in STEM if you decide to go into it. So my name is Diana Avila, and I earned a PhD in biochemistry from the University of Texas. And right now, I'm currently teaching microbiology for non-majors, usually for nursing students, the ones that want to go into nursing school. And then general biology for majors. That's usually for students who, like Franklin said, want to go into medical school or dental school or graduate school or anything above a bachelor's. That's the biology that you want to take. And I teach both of these at the MSU Flower Mound campus, and that's where you will find me.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Cami Boaz, and I work in the mathematics department at NCTC. My degrees come from Texas Women's University in Denton, Texas. I have 2 master's degrees, one in mathematics with a statistical emphasis, and the other in data science, informatics, where we marry together computer science and statistics. I'm excited to be here to see what type of questions students might have regarding the field of STEM and all of the opportunities that you have available to you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Linda Jano. I have a degree in CITE from NCTC, as well as a master's degree from UNT in computer education and cognitive systems. I work in the CITE and computer science here at NCTC. And the main subjects I teach are like BCIS and web design. I've also taught Access or database spreadsheets. I've also taught intro to programming. So I hope we get to help you guys out.
Hi, my name is Sherry Smith, and I got my master's degree from Midwestern State University in biology, and I did some work towards my PhD in biochemistry at the University of North Texas. I teach on the Gainesville campus, and where I focus on anatomy and physiology courses that I do in 8-week sessions, and then I do microbiology as well. So most of my students that I work with are pre-nursing or pre-health care related fields that are coming through my classes.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jill Willey. I teach chemistry. I got my undergraduate degree at Texas Women's University and my graduate degree, a master's at University of North Texas. I teach all levels, introductory chemistry, mainly for non-science majors or nursing students. And then I teach general chemistry 1 and 2, and organic chemistry 1 and 2. These are for science majors, pre-med, pre-professional programs, that kind of thing. I teach right now at the MSU campus in Flower Mound.
Yay. Thank you, everyone. And then, guys, if you have questions at any point in time through this presentation, just leave it in the comments and we will get to those questions at the end of our panel discussion. All right, so we're going to get started. Our first topic is what inspired you to go into STEM? So why did you want to go into the field you went into?
I have an answer.
Okay.
I figured that going into a STEM field would kind of set me apart, make it easier for me to find a job once I graduated. I know it's not the easiest thing to do, but if it was easy, everybody would be doing
it. Very true.
To me, what inspired me was actually, I was always interested in science starting from junior high. And it basically was the fact that my father was ill. And knowing that, it really impressed on me on trying to do something about science or how to find out why illnesses occur and how you can combat them. And that's how I figured out, for sure, I was not going to be an MD. I tell you that, guys. I was not going to be a physician, but I was really always curious and interested on how things happen, and which is basically what scientists do. And so I built my career in becoming a scientist from then on. And so that's really what inspired me. So it was in a personal matter. And then once you are there, then I just was always excited, and I always enjoyed it. And I loved being a scientist.
Awesome.
There I am. I just went up.
No, you're okay. And then Cami, okay. I know you have an interesting story.
Oh, well, thank you, Leanne. Math did not choose me. I chose it. I was never successful in math through most of my schooling, even through my first round or first attempts at college. So I did go to college right out of high school, but I was one class short of an associate's degree because I could not pass this business math class. It was where I learned that formulas have a job, and you can't just use it because you like it and it's the only one you know. So, but I did not complete that degree. And it was 20 plus years later when I had the opportunity to return to school. And I'd been in the business world where I used math. I did accounting. I did all kinds of things. But you put me in a classroom and suddenly it was a foreign language. So I had some marvelous, marvelous instructors at the community college level who just helped turn those light bulbs on. And then I just decided, I will conquer this subject. I will get this one way or another. And so I went back to back through an associate's, a bachelor's, and 2 masters. And I really want to go back for my PhD, but my husband might kill me. But sometimes you choose it because you've worked so hard to master it and to conquer it that it becomes something you love and enjoy.
Yeah.
My entrance into the field was very haphazard. I did not start a science major. I got my Associate of Arts as a mass comm business double major. I was scared of science classes, but I got married while I was getting my associate's degree and had 2 small children and ended up in a divorce. And my dad drove me to Midwestern State. I didn't even know that school existed. And he drove me up there, filled out my financial aid packet, and I can pop off to my dad on occasion. And he asked, what do you want to register for? I said, I was going to be a doctor when I was a little girl. I guess sign me up for that. It landed me in all the science classes that semester. And it was traumatizing, but I found the puzzle side of it fascinating. I fell in love with it, and I've been in love with it since. And I love sharing the puzzle side of it. I mean, my dad loved science. He loved the geology. He hated the stuff that bleeds and stinks and stuff like that. So I had rock hammers and all, but anything chemistry, anything biology, I was like, no, keep it away from me. That's evil. And then I ended up in it because I was a smart aleck. But it's what I love, and I love to share it. So mine was very haphazard. It was not intentional at all. I didn't set out to be in STEM, but I love STEM. I love being in the sciences.
Well, I have to tell you, while you guys might have accidentally or wanted to solve something, I will agree with Sherry. I did want to solve things. I love solving things. I love puzzles. But the first time I was introduced to a computer, I just kind of fell in love with it. And so what do I do now is I teach computers. So I get to do the problem solving, the data analysis, but it's just truly, I don't know if it, I think it chose me because it just truly was just love at first sight. I was like, oh, yeah, I get to play with this. I get to tear it down, put it back together. It's just been really fun for me.
I think that we can say that we all have found the love of it, that we all love what we do, and we like to share what we love. I always tell my students that if you're going to be in this field, you have to love it, because it's the only thing that will make you stay up till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning studying and reading and doing what you need to do. And if you don't love it, then you're not going to feel stimulated enough to do it. Then it's a chore, so it's very, very different that when you find the love of it.
Yes, absolutely. My story is not much different. I thought I would be a scientist because I fell in love with science as a very young child. And then, first I wanted to be a geologist. And then in junior high, I thought I was going to be a chemist. And then I got into high school and took algebra and then realized I was really, really good at it and fell in love with math. I thought I wanted to do engineering until I got into physics courses, and then I decided that was not for me, but still really enjoyed the math side of it. So absolutely, you have to love what you're doing, or otherwise you're not going to want to put in the hours you need to succeed. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that it's easy for you, because it's really not easy for anyone once you get to a certain point. So, yeah. Is there any particular person, whether it's a family member or maybe a scientist or someone that really inspires you or you really look up to that's in your field?
I had two instructors that I don't think, if I hadn't had them, I don't think I would have been able to have stuck it out because I was so scared when I went in. And one of them, her name was Dr. Munoz. She was at Midwestern because her husband was stationed at the Air Force Base. And I remember getting called into her office. I was taking organic chemistry. I got called into her office. My mind was, oh my goodness, you get called into the instructor's office, you are in trouble. What did I do? I didn't do anything. I didn't cheat. She called me in. And I was like, Dr. Munoz, what did I do wrong? She's like, no, I'm calling you in because I don't know why you're pre-physical therapy. You need to be pre-med because you're doing so well. I'm like, you mean I'm doing well? Because I was so scared through high school. Like I said, it was evil to me. But it's like I could see the molecules when she was talking and teaching the organic chemistry. It's like I could see them and see what she was talking about. And so when she called me in and told me I could do it, I hadn't heard a lot of that growing up. When she called me in and said, you're good at this and you can do this chemistry, this organic chemistry, I cried in her office. I shed some serious tears with her. So Dr. Munoz will always have a special part in my heart. And then the other one, oh my goodness, I love her to death. It took me, I hired on in 2008. It was 2016. I went back and ate some crow with her. Dr. Rincon Zachary. She's an amazing woman. She came to the country from Venezuela, taught herself the English language, got her master's and her PhD. She had been a primary scientist at the Nobel Foundation, and then she became an educator at Midwestern. Talk about a hard woman. And she's hearing this. I'll say it again. She's hard. Like, she pulled a ruler out on my master's thesis to measure the font. But she taught me so much, because she taught me that, yes, it's going to be hard, but failure is not an option. And to see two strong women that had to go through so much, because Dr. Rincon was also a single mom, which I was when I was going through my education. So the fact that she was a single mom, I already spoke English. I didn't have to teach myself that. She had a lot more barriers that she had to overcome. And this phenomenal woman was doing these things and writing these publications. And her area of interest was in agriculture, because the plants were affected by aluminum in the soil in the country she came from. And so she was doing problem solving to try better countries like her own. And so to see her passion, even when she would fuss, I still respected her, because she was teaching me to step up and work hard. She challenged. I mean, I would go home frustrated and cry. She'd fuss at me in Spanish and then English and then Spanish, and through it all, I love her for that. And so when I started my graduate program under her, she told me I would TA. I had to go back in 2016, eat crow, and tell her I teach for a living, because I told her I don't want to teach. I'm not going to. But those two women, I think having those mentors, those female mentors in the sciences that had gone before, that had gone through the tough stuff, even being a single mom, doing the tough stuff, seeing that somebody else could do it before me was huge. Yes, reading the stories like of Rosalind Franklin and Marie Curie, all of those are fascinating. But to have someone that I could see in front of me made a huge difference to help me get over that barrier of, oh my gosh, this is evil, to, oh my gosh, I love this.
Well, for me, my mentor was actually my advisor in college, who took personal interest in the interests that I had. And what I liked about him was that he was always keeping an eye on me. Even when I went through graduate school, he was always asking me, how are you doing? Are you doing okay? Is everything good? Are you doing okay? So just having that personal connection with him, and he was always making sure that I was, don't give up, this kind of thing. I wish I had women who were examples, but I'll be honest with you, when I went to graduate school in the department that I went to, there wasn't a single woman that was a faculty member. So that actually made it pretty hard, because, a lot of times you're like the only woman in the room, and you're like, oh God, and you have to stand up for yourself. And so it does make you strong, so having him always kept keeping an eye on me and kind of checking on me and keep telling me, you got to keep going. Don't worry. Everything's going to be okay. You can do this, made a big difference for me in terms of my educational, in terms of keeping up my education. And the other person for me was also, I got married very young. And so my husband always supported me. He told me, you are going to keep going. And he was with me from the minute I started graduate school to the minute I finished, and I continued forward in my professional career. And he always was support, constant support, never questioning why I'm doing this, why are you doing that. He was, nope, whatever you want to do, whatever you feel like you have to do, you need to do it. So I'm thankful for him for that.
It's awesome.
Well, I had two here at NCTC since I started working at NCTC 20 plus years ago, but not as an instructor, and just working out as an administrative assistant. And I started taking some computer courses, and Jim Ennis, who's now retired, is the one who actually got me into teaching. And I was in his class, and every time I go to his class, I'd wind up helping all the other students. I'd say, well, this is how you might want to do this. And I wound up tutoring, and he just said, when you graduate, I want you to come back and teach. And I was like, really? That wasn't anything I'd ever consider doing. I'd love computers, and that was no question.
There you go.
And the other person who inspired me, because I was a non-trad student, I just started college right after high school, but wound up getting married and quitting, and then coming back later, is Debbie Huffman, our dean. And I've had this conversation with her. She's actually the one who inspired me to continue my education. And she didn't even know she did it. She was actually speaking to the support staff one day, and she said, you know what? One day you may find yourself 50 years old, and I wasn't 50 yet. And she said, and you may not have your degree and always wish you'd had your degree, or you could be 50 years old working on your degree, or you could be working on it right now and have it by the time you're 50. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's right. And it really spoke to me, made a big difference. And so here I am today.
Yay. It's amazing how much influence our instructors and coworkers and things can have, for sure.
Yeah. Well, that professor, that advisor for me, his name was Dr. Jose Cima de Villa. I took so many classes with him, and he was the one who inspired me that I could teach. He was the one who said, think about that, because you're always wanting to share what you know. And that's why at a certain point in my life as a scientist, I decided, maybe it's time to think about giving this spark, to inspire this spark in others. And so that's why.
Yeah, so that kind of leads into the next question and topic that I had was, what have your guys' careers look like and opportunities? And then did you go straight into teaching, or did you work somewhere else in your field before you started teaching?
I had my career, I'll say my career, really previous to my education. So lots of, business administration, doing, running a business, being a mom, running home finances, those types of things. Had lots of great business experiences with, in nuclear engineering, and uh, I worked for IBM for a number of years. Uh, I don't know, all different kinds of printing company. I worked for a printing company for a while. Uh, but I really always wanted to be a teacher. That was something that was always in my blood. And so while I was taking classes as a non-traditional, while I was taking classes, I was running a preschool at the same time because my girls were that age. And so I did that for 13 years until I could get through, my bachelor's, and I started into my master's. And then once I started into my master's, then I started having opportunities where the division chair invited me to teach, um, freshman level courses, and I loved that. Oh, that was amazing. And then I kind of got found my little niche. Is that the right way to say that? I kind of found my area, and my area tended to lean towards, statistics, of course, because that's just my love language at the moment. But was really working with non-traditional students. I get them. I can completely understand that balance of work, life, responsibilities, and so I really enjoy opportunities when I have opportunities to work with the non-traditional students. But it's just that love of, once you understand something and you have earned your badge of honor, working so hard and practicing so often, and it doesn't stop once you get your degree. You have to continue learning and continue practicing and
Yeah.
continue fine tuning your skills, and then just being able to share with someone, partner with someone to walk through that journey together. Just, well, I could go on forever. I love it.
Anyone else?
Well, let's see. So for me, after I finished my PhD, I worked for many years as a scientist, about 9 years as a scientist, and I just moved up the from the different levels as you become a scientist until you have your laboratory where you're doing research. So I basically did research from the minute I finished up my degree um, until about 8 or 9 years after that. I had my kids, and they were very young. And that's when I said, okay, this life of a scientist, it's a little bit rough on little kids. And so that's when I said, maybe it's time to think about something else to do, something where I can be with my kids a little bit more than I would if I was doing research all the time. So and so then that's when I thought about teaching, and then again, wonderful Dr. Simadevia gave me a call, and he said, "Hey, have you thought about teaching?" And I thought, perfect timing. So,
That's
yep,
awesome.
yeah,
So teaching was as haphazard as me ended up in science. I was working on my PhD when my father's cancer got worse. And so I left just shy of finishing my dissertation, and I enlisted in the military. And when my father passed, because I was a single mom, I was chaptered out due to lack of a family care plan. And I immediately panicked, like, okay, I got to find a job. I can't take care of the kids and try to go to school. And so thanks, Dr. Rincon again. You made me TA as a graduate student. So I started seeking out a teaching job. And Dr. Bellows called me to do some adjunct teaching at NCTC. And I was also adjunct teaching for Weatherford College at the same time in 2008. And honestly, teaching scared me too, because I'm a bit of an introvert. I'd be totally happy on a deserted island all by myself. Just give me some good reading. But I found that I'm okay in the classroom because there's an audience that I can share my nerd love of science with. And the fear is gone because I forget, because I get excited. But then when I leave the classroom, I'm tired. I'm really tired.
yeah,
I kind of fell into it. And the love is the students that were like me, that were scared. When that light comes on, I get so excited. It's so neat to see someone who thinks they can't do it see that
doing
they
it.
can. They can actually do it. They can understand something like cellular respiration, and just, they bubble over. And it's like, that's what I was like, oh my gosh. And so I fell into teaching too. I mean, I'm scared what's going to happen in life because everything's haphazard with me. So teaching has been awesome. And so my goal was to do what Deanna had done, was go in. That was ideal for me, alone in a lab. I want to do research, be all good, introverted me in a lab, leave me be.
Yeah,
But
your
God,
little lab bench.
I was totally happy with that, because I could work
Yeah.
with the earbuds. I was good until, sun came up. So that's what I wanted to do in the STEM field, was do the research. But I found that where I'm supposed to be is sharing that love and helping others learn it that were scared like I am. And so I know where I am supposed to be,
Yeah.
teaching others in the sciences.
All right. All right. So one thing we all know as being women in the STEM fields, as Deanna brought up earlier, she was the only woman in her department as a grad student. I experienced similar trying when I was a physics minor, supposed to be a physics double major. I was the only woman in the program. We had no female instructors. I had no female counterparts. Like, there was a very small program, and it's all men all the way around. And so, and it is a challenge because they don't always take you seriously because they're not used to seeing women in their field. But hopefully we can change that to make a positive change for the future. Because you know what? We are capable of doing all of these fields and doing what we want within them. So with that being said, what challenges did you face as a woman in your field, and what helped you the most in overcoming those challenges?
In my early attempts at education, this is in the 80s, I actually encountered a classroom setting at this particular, not our community college, but at another community college, where I was taking computer science classes, and I was the only female in the room. And he asked me in front of everyone to please unenroll from his class because I would not be successful in his
Oh
classroom.
my gosh.
And I said, I'll show you. And I did. I made an A in that class. My daddy was a
That's
programmer,
the only way to do it.
right?
Yeah.
But yet, throughout my most current college experiences, there were women in the field, in both the mathematics and the computer science side, who were phenomenal. And I, being in my 50s at the time, um, there were a lot of younger people in the classrooms than myself who were more current and had a lot more hands-on experiences with things. But yet they came to this old lady for help, you know, and I think it was just like, they looked at you for, like, oh, you're older, maybe you understand this better. Now, there were times I had to ask them, but there were a lot of times when I was the go-to girl in some of those classes. Um, and in my career side, I was always in male-driven workplaces.
Mm.
Always had men as bosses. But it could have been that, it was the fields, and they were STEM fields, but um, it was tough. That was tough not having um, strong women in those roles to say, oh, well, maybe I could consider this as a field, when I was younger. But then when I started running the preschool, then I'm working with all women. But I don't know, it's just an interesting dynamic. I can't say that I looked at the time when I was young. I cannot say that I looked at my surroundings and questioned my surroundings.
Mhm.
It was probably the generation, I will say. But nowadays I'm like, girl, you can do this. I mean, come on.
Just have to want it.
Want it. That's right. You have to want it.
Yes, absolutely.
I will add, at NCTC, we have some of the most amazing women in in a community college. I have enjoyed getting to know so many of my female peers, um, and they are strong in their fields. And I'm just like, you know, why didn't I think of that? Why did I pick your job? So I
Well,
love I love the camaraderie.
yeah, that's true. Well, I always say, I always tell to Jill, if I wish I had taken chemistry with her, the way she teaches it. It's like, why didn't I have a teacher like you? It would have been so great. I would have understood everything so much better and faster. So, but yeah, I think we all give it our 110%.
Yeah. So does anyone else want to talk about any challenges or things they may have had? No.
I think when I was working on my undergraduate degree, working in the research lab, there were mostly young men in the lab working with me. And they would tell me, go wash those dishes, go clean that counter, go sweep that up, that kind of thing. But I did it because I knew that I had to prove myself. And if I had balked, I would have been probably out the door. So I just put my head down. I worked hard. And I finished washing all those dishes. And then I would come right back and say, okay, now what? Now what do I do? So I think that being a woman in a male-dominated field, you do have to push a little bit for what you want, and don't be afraid to do that, because if it is what you want, you're going to have to work hard for it. Just know that right up front, and push for what you want. Don't give up.
Sometimes I think about it, and like we said, I mean, at least for some of us who didn't have a female counterpart to look up to, so we had no idea what we were doing was right or wrong. It's like, it didn't matter. It was like, this is the way I'm going to do it. And since there is no pattern already set, it is like, whatever you did, that's what's going to go, and that's going to work, because nobody else can tell me anything else. So I got to figure it out myself, and this is what I'm going to do. And sometimes that's what, that's what we have left doing, is it's you doing it, and wash as many dishes as they ask you to wash, and, and keep going.
Yeah.
I think that's a part of the problem with getting girls into STEM right now, is a self-perpetuating problem, that there is a lack of female role models in the sciences. And so trying to get those girls to step into it is kind of self-perpetuating. Like I said, I was blessed. I honestly don't think I could have stuck it out if I didn't have them. So I feel like I was put in a situation where I was provided what I needed to learn to survive there. I had some great male instructors that were very, very strong and guided me and gave me a good solid background, like Dr. Kate with the biochemistry and Dr. Cook with molecular biology. Those guys, they were always encouraging, but there was just something special for me that kept me going, having Dr. Munoz and Dr. Rincon, that I don't think having been so scared of it. And then my remark throwing me face, I had that first semester at MSU was all science classes, because I'd done all my core at TCJC. Yeah. There were no blow-offs.
I agree with you that sometimes what I see nowadays with young women, there's a fear. There's a lot of fear. And I tell them, you have to be fearless. You can't let fear not let you do what you want to do. You have to be fearless.
Well, you got to be stubborn too, and I got a stubborn streak in my law.
Yes.
Tell me I can't do it, and I'm going to show you.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of us tend to, of us who start these things, tend to be that kind. You're giving me a challenge. Okay, let's go for it.
Yeah.
But I think that for young women nowadays, their world is not like our world when we started, when we lived our time, and they have to deal with so many other things. And I think that one of it is that fear that they develop, and we need to show them that can't be afraid, that you can't shove your fear away, but you have to
Work through it.
Yeah. Work through it. Yes, that's right. And face it. And then it's okay. And that you're going to be okay. And that it's okay not to be afraid. So.
And we've got to push through that fear, because the problem we've got right now with not enough of us in STEM is the world that we live in was created by men for men. Seatbelts, when they were first created, were for men. And so women and children suffered because they weren't engineered with the thought or the mindset of protecting women and children in those cars. Office temperatures. So Cammie, office temperatures, working in businesses, they were set off the metabolic rate of a male. That's why we're always cold. So we want the world to work for us. We're 50% of the population. We have got to step up and make it.
And we have to participate. We have to say. We have to stand up and say.
This is what
research on heart attacks.
You have to be asked to be part of in the table. You have to be in the table, and when you're in the table, you need to speak out.
And so what the young women need to realize, we have a valuable voice. We have an
Yes.
important say that can change the world around us for the better for other women in the future.
Yeah.
So that it's not just focused on making sure that the male population is comfortable and provided for.
Right.
My
Well, and
husband's
I
gonna love
heard,
hearing that.
I know, I heard someone recently say that shared this thought. It was in relation to students, but I think it's still appropriate in this context. But you know, we are often provided um, the place setting at that table, but it's still our responsibility to pick up that fork and make it work for us. You know, and so I always appreciate that place at the table, but again, it's still my responsibility to make that into what I need it to be for me. Set that example.
Yeah.
That's what's so cool about working at NCTC. There's so many strong women that are teaching in the STEM. That's neat to see.
Yes. Yeah, I love it because it's definitely a different experience than what I saw in my undergraduate experience. I think the only female instructor I had, and I took quite a few science classes, not just physics, was a chemistry instructor, and she wasn't even my instructor. She just saw me one day in the hallway, and I must have looked flustered or upset about something. But she kind of walked up to me and she took me under her wing, and this is going to lead into my next question: is that she helped me get a NASA scholarship. To And what you would do is you had to do various things within the field to earn that scholarship. So like I taught physics labs and I worked some different events our science department put on. Even though I wasn't within chemistry at all, she really helped me feel comfortable within that space. Because and so that would be one of my words of advice is if you are feeling uncomfortable or you do feel the need for a mentor and you're not finding someone who's directly within your major or something, especially once you transfer, find other opportunities or find, someone in an adjacent department. So for me, it just happened to be that our chemistry and physics departments shared the same floors of their science building. So that's how that connection happened. Luckily it is becoming to where you are seeing more women and it's not a situation of it just being you of only men, which can be intimidating, but don't be intimidated. Know that you can do it and believe in yourself. And then without automatically just being thrown into there, was there any special, I know you guys have talked about special instructors that really inspired you, but were there like student organizations or scholarships or research opportunities or other things like that that helped you or that you think helped you in your journey?
I will put a shout out to my mother-in-law. She's not with us any longer, but if it hadn't have been for her seeing my desire to return to school, and then she said, I'll pay for it. And she didn't put a time limit on it. So I got 3 degrees out of that. But she was really good at math and she liked that I was picking something that she understood. And she had always kind of been in the real estate world and farming, but she really liked that we had something in common. And she did not want money to be the thing, the stumbling block for me to be able to satisfy my desire. I know that's not something everyone has offered to them, but I cannot encourage my students enough. You, there's so much money left on that table at the end of the day from scholarships not being applied for. you just need to, it's work because you know, maybe you have to write your letter or you have to get some recommendations or whatever, but it's worth it. If this, you know, but you gotta want it, just like everything else, you gotta want it.
Yep.
All right, so we're gonna do one last question because I think we've all come up with a bunch of good advice. But if you could only pick one piece of advice for women interested in going into STEM fields, what would it be?
I still think that goes back to you've got to have a passion for it. You've really got to want it. And if you're going to pick STEM, have an idea which direction you're going to go. I'm computers. We have math. We have science. There's so many options out there. And I will say with computers, it's such a growing and broad field. People say if you're in computers, you should know everything. But you have networking. You have cybersecurity. You have web development, you have gaming. There's so many different options available for students today. And if you have a true passion and a true love for something like that, go for it. Just go for it. And if you need help along the way, I see quite a few women right up here right now who'd be more than willing to talk to you about that.
Yeah, one thing I would like to say is if you do need help, ask for it. Don't, sit there and worry yourself to death. Just find somebody, ask for help. There's a lot of help out there available. And you just need to ask.
And I would say from the experience of being fearful, don't be fearful. We're here to help, just like Dr. Rincon and Dr. Munoz helped me. We're here to be that guidance for you. So don't be scared of the STEM fields. Yes, they're a challenge. It's hard work, and it's going to take a lot of hard work and sometimes work into the wee hours of the morning. But there's beauty on the other side. And so don't be scared of it. Reach out for help when you're in a bind and ask for it.
I think for me would be that do know that we are approachable and we're reasonable people and we have all worked hard for where we're at. So I always say when I see a student that is working really hard, I tell them that hard work will pay off. Hard work will always pay off, no matter what. And so work hard. And if you need help, approach. It's okay. We're good people.
For me, the one piece of advice might be that it's okay to enter a classroom the first week of class and not know everything about the class. We don't expect for you to know everything the first day. Guess what? You wouldn't need this class if you knew everything, right?
I know.
So let it be okay to press a reset button or to say, okay, I found something I don't know and I need to work on this. And it's okay to not know everything. That's why we're here. We want to help build put those puzzle pieces together for you and then partner with you. I know this group of panelists would just enjoy partnering with a student and following them all the way through their fabulous career and all of the milestones and be able to celebrate you and your successes. So just be willing to work, be willing to be okay with learning and asking questions. It is not a weakness, it is a strength. Ask questions.
Absolutely. I think all of us are here to help support you on your journey. And, as Linda was mentioning, there's so many different things you can do within these fields that you don't necessarily feel like you're stuck. Like, if I want to go into computers, then I have to do programming. Not necessarily. There's a lot of different things you can do with it. Or like, I think biology and chemistry get a bad rep because they think all that exists is pre-med, which pre-med is amazing, but they're both amazing fields on their own and do a lot of different research and things that are really cool. So, so if you ever want to know anything about what advice on what to go into or what the job field looks like for those majors or anything like that, I know any of us would be happy to have that conversation with you. And so I am so happy to have all of you join today. It was a really great conversation. And then what I wanted to bring on is part of our support system is we are working really hard to provide more resources for all of our STEM majors in general, and take advantage of those. Those aren't just, oh, it's just for that person or it's just for that person. We really want everyone to explore their options. So I will be hosting a set of STEM transfer fairs for the month of April. It's every Friday, 9:30 to noon. If you can't participate in an entirety of a transfer fair, that's okay. They'll be in 30-minute sessions. So if you come in the middle and you're like, hey, I want to jump in this session for the next time period slot, we can do that. We'll be managing the main room, and then you'll be put into breakout sessions with the universities and programs that you want to meet with. And so I know we've got some math departments on board, lots and lots of science people. I don't have my schedule in front of me, but I think this next Friday is going to be math, physics, computer science, informatics, I think some data science. Some of the programs got a little mixed up on which days they're going to present. But if you register for one event, I'm going to send out the schedule for all the events so that you can see what's available. Because as I said, data science and computer science are for the 2nd, but I think it's the 16th or the 16th. We had a lot of schools want to jump in on that day with those similar programs. So there's a lot of overlap. So I would encourage you to register for an event, and I'll get that schedule for you. And if you want to schedule for just one event or all of them, that is okay. And we're hoping to have this successful. And it's just so you can log into these sessions, ask these school questions you may have about their programs or what resources they have, and kind of get a face to the school or program before you even apply. All right. And then does anybody else have any last words or comments?
Well, I want to thank all my colleagues for sharing, and it's really nice to talk with each other this way, to see that we're all approaching our work with our hearts, and that's really nice to see.
I agree. And Leanne, thank you for all of your work in putting this together. And Elizabeth and Franklin, I think he's around somewhere. He's in the mystery land. But y'all are doing amazing work in advising our students. There he is.
There's
Thank you.
Franklin.
Yes, thank you for all the work you do in advising our students in these programs. We really appreciate you promoting these fields.
Yeah.
You ladies did awesome. Just want to say it was great.
This was fun.
So good. We had just a ton of comments from people thanking you for sharing your stories and encouraged by them. So we really appreciate you sharing.
It's awesome.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Anything else before we wrap up, Leanne?
No, I think that is it.
All right. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Franklin. And thank you, everyone who watched tonight.